Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. In this video, we will be solving a guesstimate question, and the question is to estimate the number of cash counters required at a DMART store. Those who don't know about DMART store, DMART is like a supermarket or hypermarket, which is a large self-serving shopping store. So you might have gone several stores like Walmart store, DMART store, Reliance Fresh. They all are basically a supermarket or a hypermarket store. So the question is to estimate the number of cash counters required at a DMART, which is a large shopping store. Right. So how do we solve this problem? So as usual, what should be our first step? The first step is to understand the question and ask clarifying questions so that you have a clear understanding of what is being asked in an interview and you don't miss things. So let's think through it. The first question which we can ask is about the place. So which city are we talking about? Is this a metro city or tier 1 city or tier 2 city or something else? So let's assume that we are talking about Bangalore. Then we can ask how many DMART stores do we have currently in Bangalore? Let's assume that we have 10 stores in Bangalore. Why are we asking this question? Because footfall in the stores will get distributed if we have more and more DMART stores in the city, right? The third question which we can ask is about the size anomalies. Basically, the DMART stores are big stores, and is there any huge variation in the size of the store? For example, like some stores are too small, some stores are too big. So let's assume that there are no anomalies in the size. All the stores are roughly of the same size. This is the assumption we are taking. The final question which we can ask is about the understanding of cash counters. So in an interview setting, don't assume anything on your own. If you are confident on something, still it is a good practice to clarify with the interviewer so that you and your interviewer are on the same page. Here the cash counters are the billing counters where we have to pay for the bills. Now it is time to create goal of the problem. The goal of the problem is to estimate the number of cash counters or billing counters required at average DMART store in Bangalore. Right, so this is the goal of our problem which we are trying to solve. So how do we think about estimating this problem? I am giving you 5 seconds to think through it. So your time starts now. I am pretty sure that you have something in your mind. So let me ask you a question. If you are able to match the checkout demand in the peak hour, then we are good to go, right? Think through it. Think once again. So if we are able to match the checkout demand in peak hour, we are good to go with all the cash counter requirement, right? So think harder. If you are convinced, you can continue the video. If you are not convinced, you can pause the video and think about it once again. And you can also ask me in the comment section. So let's start with the high level equation and the walkthrough of the solution. We will first start with the Bangalore population, right? From there, we can get the number of households. Now the question is, why are we taking the household approach? Because not all the members in the family go for purchase in DMART, right? So it is good proxy to consider household which shop from the supermarket or hypermarket. Now, not all the household will shop from supermarket, right? Majority of household will shop from local shops or some vendors, right? So we have to take the number of households which are shopping from the hypermarket or supermarket, right? Then not all the households which are shopping for supermarket or hypermarket will shop from DMART store because there are a lot of other players as well, like Star Bazaar, there are Reliance Fresh. So we have to take into account the market share of the DMART store. Then we have to estimate that as well. So till now, we have an estimate of number of households that shop from DMART. From here, we have to consider the number of households that shop from DMART every month. After that, since we have assumed that there are 10 DMART stores in Bangalore, we can have an average number of households in Bangalore that shop from one DMART in a month, right? So till now, we have an average number of households in Bangalore that shop from DMART in a month, right? Now we can estimate the footfall. How? We can assume that every household, on an average, 2 people come to shop. There may be single individual from a household coming to DMART, or there can be complete family coming to shop, right? But on an average, we are assuming that 2 people from a household coming to shop from DMART. That is where we can get the footfall in the DMART store. So till now, we know the average monthly footfall in one store of DMART in Bangalore. From here, we can calculate the daily average footfall. On weekends, more people come to DMART, so we can take a multiplier factor. Right. So on weekends, we can assume that something like 2x, twice the number of people who are coming on the daily basis are coming on weekends. So there is a 2x multiplier factor we are considering here. So till now, we have estimated footfall on weekend on a DMART. From here, we can calculate the footfall per hour considering DMART store opens for 10 hours. Similarly, we can assume that the footfall in a rush hour with the similar concept of multiplier factor which we have done in the weekend. So wait, we have a complete calculation. So watch till the very end. So till now, we know the average number of footfall in a DMART during rush hour on weekends. That is the peak footfall. So the number of counters would be designed in such a way that the peak demand can be fulfilled. Now we can assume that 40% of the peak footfall do check out in that 1 hour. It's just an assumption. So on an average, we can assume that checkout take 4 minutes. So now we know how much time 40% of checkout will take, right? And we have only 60 minutes. So here we can calculate the number of counters that is required to support these many checkouts. This is the high level equation and walkthrough of the solution. Now let's start putting those numbers. Bangalore population is around 10 million. We can assume that the average household size in Bangalore is around 3. This gives us 3.3 million household in Bangalore, right? Assuming that these 3.3 million household, 30% are the ones who shop from any hypermarket or supermarket. This will give around 1 million or 10 lakh of household who are potential customer, right? These are potential customer of DMART. But since there are a lot of other players as well, like Reliance Fresh, local market chains, etc. So assume that 30% of these potential household go to DMART. So that will give us around 3 lakh of household who shop from the DMART. Now let's assume that 60% of these households shop on a monthly basis. That means they visit DMART store in a month, right? So average number of households who go to DMART in a month will be around 1.8 lakh households. Now since we have assumed that 10 DMART stores are there in Bangalore, this will give around 18,000 households who shop from one DMART. Now let's assume that every household 2 people visit the DMART store, maybe a couple or father or a son, etc. So from this we would be estimating the number of footfall in a DMART store per month. This would give around 36,000 people per month. Now from the per month we have to calculate on the daily basis. So we can simply divide by 30. That will give around 1200 footfall per day. But on weekend the footfall may increase, right? So we can assume and multiply a factor of 2. So the average footfall on weekend will be around 2.5k. So basically 2,500 people are coming to shop from DMART on a weekend. And DMART is operational for 10 hours. We have assumed that. So per hour on an average 250 people come. But there is a rush hour also. Assuming at peak the footfall is around 1.5 times the normal hour. So this will give around 375 people. Now assuming 40% of these people do checkout, this is an assumption. So 150 checkouts has to happen in that 1 hour. On average, one person takes around 4 minutes per checkout. So total minutes required is around 600 minutes for the entire checkout in that 1 hour. But since this has to happen in 1 hour, so there would be around 10 checkouts or counters, cash counters. And this figure is coming by dividing 600 by 16. Here we have taken a lot of assumption. Always highlight all the assumption which you are taking. So this would be the concept of solving this question. I hope you have learned something new from this video. Happy learning.